It is March 30th, 2024, and this is Sports Chowder with me, Sam Stebbins. Today we're talking Red Sox opening day, Coach Mayo's latest comments to the media, a Drake Maye scouting report, the Celtics' blown lead to Atlanta, and more. Well, I did manage to see some of the Red Sox first game of the season. I signed up for a free trial of MLB TV, and I watched the first 6 innings of their game against the Mariners. And I have to say, I'm glad I watched it. I have no idea how the rest of the season will go. Baseball is a very, very long season, so it could go so many ways. But the Red Sox won. They won 6-4, and I have reasons to feel optimistic, at least about Brayan Bello. He pitched 5 innings, and for the most part, he was cool under pressure, and that was really nice to watch. He is the youngest Red Sox opening day pitcher since the 90s, and he is the first homegrown Red Sox opening day pitcher since 2015. It does give me a little more hope about the state of the Red Sox system when we can have a pitcher like Brayan Bello be drafted into our team and then signed to an extension and show so much promise at a young age. It tells me someone is scouting the right talent with the Red Sox. I also stayed up late enough to see Rafael Devers' home run. It was a 2-run home run and it was beautiful. In fact, I was so excited I actually quietly applauded in my apartment because it was just fun to watch. And I have not really been tuned into Red Sox baseball closely for a while, and I just decided to just go for it and watch this game because I do love baseball when I take the time to follow it, and I hope some positive changes are coming for the Red Sox this season and going forward. I want to keep hope alive that the owners of the Red Sox know what they have and know that the team is worth so much more when it's competitive. So I'm going to see how things go. It's, again, a long season ahead of us, but I'm going to hope that we can keep some of this momentum from this great opening day win. While I would love to sit here and bask in the glow of an opening day win, I do want to focus on the bigger picture here with the Red Sox, and that is what might happen after this season if things don't turn around. Now, obviously, I love our manager, Alex Cora. He won that 2018 championship, and that was the first World Series I had really, been so into the Red Sox. I knew each of the players, and I was watching each of the playoff games, and I watched them win live, and it was really exciting. So I will always see Alex Cora as a Boston legend. However, he might be on the hot seat. This is the last year on his contract, and there have been no discussions of an extension. And Cora has been asked about this, and he respects it. He knows the place the Red Sox are in, and as much as he and his family love Boston, he knows that he has to start producing better results. I really just, I want him to turn things around if he can with what he's been given, but if not, it might be best to start fresh with a new manager and hopefully some better free agency signings next year if this year does not turn out to be that great. I just can't stand being a joke of a team. Every team in Major League Baseball has their last place finishes, but it really is painful to finish last 2 years in a row, and if it happens again, there needs to be some real changes on many levels with the Red Sox. I hope that does not have to be the case. I hope we can, turn things around this year and do better than expected and maybe attract some more free agents. Say, hey, Boston is a great sports city. The Red Sox are a marquee team. Play for us and help us go over the hump and win another championship, But we have to have results for that to happen. So we'll see what happens. I'll keep watching when I can. I'll keep supporting them. Obviously, I'm always going to be a Red Sox fan, but winning is a lot better than losing, obviously. So let's do things better this year. Moving on to the Patriots, Coach Mayo spoke to the media after the NFL annual meeting in Orlando during the AFC Coaches Breakfast, which I think is a very funny event. It sounds like a fire department's pancake breakfast, but regardless, I love it. And here are his comments, and I have some thoughts on them.
Well, good morning. Happy to be here First time, it's a lot, but I'm excited for the opportunity to speak with you guys, and hopefully you guys come out of here with some clarity as far as our strategy is concerned, as far as our team building is concerned. Fire away.
Maybe just start with that. I mean, is there a clarity that you would begin with?
The clarity I will begin with is free agency. Obviously, the media, the fans, everyone wants that big signing. But at the same time, as we continue to put this team together, I think there has to be a process. It has to be a methodical process. And look, when there is a guy that we want to get, the Crabs have already told us they'll spend the money. And I would say offensively this year we were very picky as far as the players that we were getting. And at the same time, that wasn't really a deep offensive free agent class to even make that type of splash. Now, what I'm saying that the draft is coming up. There will still be conversations as far as trades and things like that, and guys will be released. So this is a process that's going to go on all the way until after the draft.
So obviously, Coach Mayo couldn't become too specific. He couldn't name names about who they wanted to sign or anything like that. And I respect that. You don't want to be throwing people under the bus. You don't want to be, dangling the carrot like, oh, we could have gotten this person, but this factor, or, this person was available, but we didn't want them for this reason. That's kind of where the sausage is made, and fans will have their opinions, but I'm going to trust the process and trust our coaching staff and management to make the right choices. And I really agree with him that it was not a deep offensive free agency class. There were options, and there were people I would have loved to sign, but the NFL is very competitive with free agency, and we're at the very beginning of a rebuild, so we can't be expected to sign the hottest free agents immediately. That's not attractive to a lot of these, great offensive players. They want to win as soon as possible because, they only have so much time. So right now we're focusing on, the bits and pieces we need to build a great team again. Let's embrace the fact we're building for the future. That should be exciting that, maybe we won't have the best couple of seasons, but down the line, we'll be competitive again, and hopefully we'll be competitive long term. I'm not saying it'll be Brady Belichick again, but the Patriots will be relevant again if we make the right choices. And right now, we can just wait and see. I'm just going to be hopeful and optimistic, as I've been saying. There's no reason to be pessimistic, because obviously football is a business, and a losing team is not good business. And that's why I trust management, ownership, the coaching staff to make smart moves. And like Coach Mayo said, the draft is going to be a big deal. That's going to be where we get some important pieces. And, he's mentioned that we could trade pick number 3 for, a big return. I doubt that happens. I doubt there's going to be a trade proposal that makes giving up pick number 3 worth it. So I'm guessing we're drafting a quarterback at pick number 3, and we're going to try to build around that quarterback and build for the future. And hopefully not make the same mistakes we made with Mac Jones, because, that's a choice. We can choose to repeat that experience, or we can choose to learn from it. And I think we're all going to choose to learn from it. So far, I really appreciate how Coach Mayo has conducted himself with the media. He's maintained a, balanced perspective on things, and it remains to be seen if he'll be a great head coach. But I'm excited. I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to trust that, Bill Belichick saw something in him. The Kraft family saw something in him. And, Belichick and the Kraft family have their disagreements, but they were both pillars of the dynasty, and I trust their judgment. And I think Coach Mayo has a lot of potential. So let's support him and hope he can really bring the Patriots back to winning ways. Speaking of the NFL draft, the University of North Carolina recently had their pro day, and Drake Maye did really well. And I really don't see a world where we don't draft Drake Maye at number 3. I really think pick number 1 will be Caleb Williams, pick 2, Jaden Daniels, and then pick 3, Drake Maye. I would be really surprised if it went a different way, but I'd be fine with it because that's what makes sports exciting. Different things happening, but that's my prediction, and most people would agree with me, I think. I am going to read through some highlights of Greg Cosell's scouting report of Drake Maye. Strengths, he has a desirable combination of size, throwing ability, and athleticism. He is an easy natural thrower with minimal effort, could drive the ball down the field. He has explosive arm talent with the traits to make every throw, can drive the ball at all levels with velocity and touch. Good athlete who can make second reaction plays throwing and running. Strong mental framework reflected in that bad plays did not affect him. Came right back and made good plays. Weaknesses, at times he drifted into the pocket to his left when there was no pressure and no reason to move off the midline. At times he was tentative in the pocket, he did not turn it loose when throws were there. Must become more decisive. There are other things, but those are some of the highlights from his strengths and weaknesses. What this tells me is that his strengths are great and his weaknesses are fixable, Once he's in the NFL, you'll have a more professional standard to be held to, and he can improve, based on extra coaching and training. What I really liked was the mental toughness aspect, the fact that he did not let mistakes get to him too much, which I cannot say for Mac Jones. Mac Jones was always a little shaken when he made a mistake or threw a pick, and, the fact is, you can be Tom Brady, you can be Aaron Rodgers, you can be Patrick Mahomes. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to throw interceptions. You have to react well or else you're done for. You're not going to win big games if you can't shake it off from a mistake. So I really like that. I liked what I've read. I've liked what I've heard. He has a lot of potential. I hope we draft him. I think it could be really exciting. I would love to draft Jaden Daniels as well. I'd be fine with either, but I doubt he falls to pick number 3, and that's okay. It's really about seeing enough potential and then, proper development. So they both have the potential, and I hope the Patriots choose to properly develop whoever they draft. Moving on to the Celtics, Monday they blew a 30-point lead to the Atlanta Hawks, their biggest lead blown since 1996. Thankfully, I was not watching, but I am still very embarrassed. You can't lose like that. It looks horrible. Despite that, the Celtics still have the best record in the NBA. They became the first team to qualify for the playoffs, and they've locked down the number 1 seed in the East. The Celtics are 11 games ahead of the Bucks, who are number 2 in the East, and they are 6 games ahead of the Nuggets, who are number 1 in the Western Conference. Like I said, losing to Atlanta like that is embarrassing. But this year, people love to hate the Celtics and be unfair when talking about our team and individual players. People jump at the chance to criticize Jason Tatum, act like he has some kind of super team, that he can't win when it matters, and they forget that he's 26, or they, choose not to acknowledge that he's only 26, and that he's won a lot of playoff games. He won the first ever Eastern Conference Finals MVP award. He has a great resume, and I think a championship will be a part of it soon. The Celtics as a whole are just undeniably a force of nature this season, and a couple losses to Atlanta sting, but the playoffs are what really matters. Beating us in the regular season is the closest some teams will get to the playoffs this year. The Hawks even made a mini documentary for their social media about the comeback win on Monday. And yes, enjoy the win, but it's better to have a cool confidence in the regular season than to celebrate like you just won a championship. And, sorry Atlanta, but this regular season basketball game does not undo Super Bowl 51 against the Patriots, so we will always have that. So yes, it's a loss that hurts. It's an embarrassing loss, but we can move beyond it. I trust we will. While we're on the topic of the Celtics, Drew Holiday is up for a contract extension after April 1st. Now, he has a $39 million player option for next season, but because of his strong play this year, he might opt out for a bigger long-term deal. Now, for one thing, I have to say contracts are getting bigger and bigger, and they sound like ridiculous numbers, but they're very real. But that's just kind of the old soul in me. Now, the Celtics are about to have a much more expensive starting 5. For one thing, they have a looming Supermax deal that Jason Tatum is expected to sign this offseason. And people really think that the starting five will cost over $200 million next year if they choose to retain the same guys. Right now it only costs $156 million, so that's a pretty big increase. Now, I love Jrue Holiday. I'm excited to watch him at the Olympics. I'm not sure about extending him, to be honest. He's going to be 34, and I want to see how he does in the playoffs for us before we sign him to an extension. I love the Celtics. I love this version of the Celtics. I've watched a lot of games this year. I would love to retain the same starting five, but again, it's about how you play in the playoffs that really, determines if you deserve a big contract or not, in my opinion. Are you going to help us, or are you going to underperform when it matters most? So I hope Jrue Holiday performs as well as he has been in the playoffs and then earns that big deal in the offseason. So we'll see what happens. I'm rooting for Jrue. I want him back, but we'll have to see. And now for Assorted Awesome, a segment where I share an awesome story that may not have to do with a current Boston team, but I think is really cool and worth talking about. According to theathletic.com, Bill Belichick is planning on writing a book. And the details are still murky. He might be setting the record straight on some of the things said in the Apple TV Plus documentary, The Dynasty, or he might just be sharing some fun stories and, nitty-gritty details of some of the Patriots' biggest wins. Either way, I'm down. I'd love to hear more from him, get more of his personality and perspective on things. So I'm rooting for this book to do well, and I'll be really excited to read it because I'm a huge Belichick fan, and, there's a time I felt like I had to play into the Brady versus Belichick thing. But the fact is, I love them both. I support them both. I want to hear both their perspectives. I appreciate what they both brought to the team for over 2 decades. So I hope this book is great. I hope it's not like him just trashing the Kraft family, but just him giving his side of the story and explaining things from his perspective. I think football is worth celebrating, especially if you win 6 championships as head coach of a team. So hopefully it's, more of a historical and celebratory book than it is a, hey, you got this wrong kind of thing. Because it'll be more enjoyable to read if it's just his perspective with his voice, because I think he has an interesting personality when he shows it, so I hope he proves me right. And again, to reiterate, I hope he has some kind of media job this coming season. And I'm even starting to warm to the idea of a Manning cast, but with Belichick and Saban, because, it might not be my favorite format, but they both have so much perspective, and I naturally like Bill Belichick more than Peyton or Eli Manning, and I think it would just be so insightful and maybe even entertaining to listen to both of them, give their opinions of a game and give their perspective. So we'll see about that, and I hope it works out. If not that, it would be even better to see Bill in a studio show, but he may not want to be locked down like that. Which I understand. Bill has a great boat. He has a house on Cape Cod and a house in Tennessee. That's nicer than a studio in New York, so if he wants to zoom in, fine. He's worked really hard. He's earned it, but again, I'd be a supporter wherever he goes. I think he could have a great media career if he so chooses. So we'll see what happens, and no matter what, I hope he does well where he goes. Before we go, I want to shout out Major League Baseball for having much better prices than the National Football League for their out-of-market TV package. For a Sunday ticket for just 17 regular season games, it can cost over $200, but Major League Baseball has 162 games, and it's only $130 to pay just for your team, or $150 for every out-of-market baseball game. So good on you, Major League Baseball. You're still beating football in one department: pricing. That may sound sarcastic, but I'm being serious. That is really important and really appreciated. That is about all I have for this episode of Sports Chowder with me, Sam Stebbins. You can follow me on X at Stebbins Tweets. You can follow the show on X at sports_chowder. You can follow the show on Instagram at sportschowder and like it on Facebook. Thank you so much for listening, and I will be here next week.